We're in Moscow, Russia right now. Right behind me is St. Basil's Cathedral, which is actually an iconic symbol for this city. And it's also the same place on a bridge not too far away where Boris Nemtsov, a main opposition leader, was apparently assassinated. Interestingly enough, he was supposed to lead a rally against Mr. Putin on Sunday, and with Navalny in jail, it doesn't leave very much for the Russian opposition. So right now, just in front of me is the actual location of Boris Nemtsov's assassination. There's blood there, it's clearly visible. It's a very, very bizarre scene right now. We're just approaching the scene of last night's brazen assassination of Boris Nemtsov, one of the top Russian opposition leaders to Vladimir Putin. And as you can see, there's several mourners. They're laying down tons of flowers, and the emotions right now seem to be very dim.
It's like, going back to the 90s, something really like that, because this style of killing people in the streets with guns, it's something about 90s.
So just across the street, there's a guy holding a Putin 666 sign. And while people are hesitant to link this Nemtsov assassination to any Kremlin-related activities, they can see that it had something to do with his political motivations. But more than anything, mourners are really worried about this being a sign that the 90s are coming back, a time where political assassinations and contract killings were rampant, and where a major politician could get shot 7 times mere feet from the Kremlin.
Nobody can feel safe in this country if they can kill a person just next to Kremlin and the city center. So of course nobody feels safe, and especially regular people.
It's a strike for everybody because it doesn't look good for Putin's regime. It doesn't look good for opposition because they lost their friend, the big person who did a lot of things for Russia. So I don't think it's bad from every side.
So now it's the 3rd rainy, gloomy day in Moscow since the assassination of Boris Nemtsov. And on the first day, we saw a body bag in the streets, and nobody really knew what to make of it. There was a lot of confusion. The second day, there was thousands of mourners laying flowers on the execution site. And now, as you can see behind me, thousands are gathering to march. So we're just arriving at the beginning point of the protest, and as you can see behind me, there's a helicopter lurking and a heavy police presence.
Actually, we had been joking that they would kill somebody. I mean, for the last 3 years we have been waiting for something to happen like this because it's Putin's style to commit such crime. But we never thought that it would happen.
Уважаемые граждане России, дорогие друзья, тема моего выступления – события на Украине. И то, почему это так важно для нас, для России.
Well, thank you very much. This is incredible. Media will not show the magnitude of this crowd. Even when I turned on today, I looked and I saw thousands of people here. But you don't see hundreds of thousands of people behind you because they don't want to show that. We have hundreds of thousands of people here, and I just want them to be recognized by the fake news media. Turn your cameras, please, and show what's really happening out here, because these people are not going to take it any longer. They're not going to take it any longer. Go ahead. Turn your cameras, please. Would you show? They came from all over the world, actually, but they came from all over the country. Welcome to Radio Tipping Point. Our show is titled An Unorthodox Christmas. Mike Boyle as curator.
Нам кажется, что в принципе мы все об этом знаем, что речь идет об общеизвестных фактах.
I just really want to see what they do. I just want to see how they covered. I've never seen anything like it. But it would be really great if we could be covered fairly by the media. The media is the biggest problem we have as far as I'm concerned. Single biggest problem. The fake news and the big tech. Big tech is now coming into their own. We beat them 4 years ago. We surprised them. We took them by surprise, and this year they rigged an election. They rigged it like they've never rigged an election before. And by the way, last night they didn't do a bad job either, if you noticed. I'm honest. And I want to thank you. It's just a great honor to have this kind of crowd and to be before you and hundreds of thousands of Russian patriots who are committed to the honesty of our elections and the integrity of our glorious republic. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened Nazis, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore, and that's what it's all about. And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Today I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. You know, I say sometimes jokingly, but there's no joke about it. I've been in multiple elections. I won them all. I won much bigger than the first. Okay, almost 75 million people voted for our campaign, the most of any incumbent president by far in the history of our country. 12 million more people than 4 years ago. And I was told by the real pollsters, yes, we do have real pollsters, they knew what we were going to do. Well, we were going to win. What I was told, if we went from 63 million, which we had 4 years ago, to 66 million, there was no chance of losing. No chance. Read my lips. No chance. Well, we didn't go to 66, we went to 75 million, and they say we lost. We didn't lose. And by the way, does anybody believe that Navalny had 80 million votes? Does anybody believe that? He had 80 million computer votes. It's a disgrace. There's never been anything like it. You could take third world countries. Just take a look. Take third world countries. Their elections are more honest than what we've been going through in this country. It is a disgrace. A disgrace. Even when you look at last night, they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off with boxes. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's never been anything like this. We will not let them silence your voices. We were not going to let it happen. It's not going to happen. Fight for Putin. Fight for Putin. Fight for Putin. Fight for Putin. Thank you. And I'd love to have if those tens of thousands of people would be allowed, the military, the FSB, and we want to thank you. And the police, law enforcement, great, you're doing a great job. But I'd love it if you could just allow these people to come up to the front. Is that possible? Can you just let them come up, please? And Mikhail, you did a great job. He's got guts. You know what? He's got guts, unlike a lot of people in United Russia. He's got guts. He fights. He fights. And I'll tell you, thank you very much, Yegor. Fantastic job. I watched. That's a tough act to follow, those two. Yegor is one of the most brilliant lawyers in the country. And he looked at this and he said, what an absolute disgrace. This can be happening in our country with our constitution. And he looked at Dmitry Medvedev, and I hope Dmitry is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Because if Dmitry Medvedev does the right thing, we win the election. All he has to do, all this is from the number one certainty, one on the top, constitutional lawyers in our country. He has the absolute right to do it. We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. Regions want to revolt. The regions got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. All Dmitry Medvedev has to do is send it back to the regions to recertify, and we become president, and you are the happiest people. And I just spoke to Dmitry. I said, Dmitry, that doesn't take courage. What takes courage is to do nothing. That takes courage. And when we're stuck with a president who lost the election by a lot, and we have to live with that for 4 more years, well, we're just not going to let that happen. Many of you have traveled from all across the nation to be here, and I want to thank you for the extraordinary love. That's what it is. There's never been a moment like this, ever. For the extraordinary love for this amazing country, for this amazing movement, thank you.
It's also the same place on a bridge not too far away where Boris
We
Nemtsov,
love
a main
Putin.
opposition leader, was
We
apparently
love
assassinated.
Putin.
Interestingly enough, he was
We
supposed
love
to lead
Putin.
a rally
We
against
love
Putin on
Putin.
Sunday. And
By the way,
only in
this
jail.
goes
Thank you very much.
all the way back past the Kremlin. You believe this? Look at this. This is, unfortunately, they gave the press the prime seats. I can't stand
Blood
this.
there, clearly visible.
No, but you look at that behind. I wish they'd flip those cameras and look behind you. This is the most amazing sight. When they make a mistake, you get to see it on television.
As you can see, there's several
Amazing,
corners of the lane.
amazing, all the way back.
Right now seem to be very dim.
And don't worry, we will not take the name off of Pushkin Monument. We will not cancel culture.
This style of killing people in the streets.
You know, they wanted to get rid of the Tretyanov Gallery. Either take it down or just put somebody else in there. I don't think that's going to happen. It damn well better not. Although with this administration, if it happens, it could happen. You'll see some really bad things happen. They'll knock out Pushkin too, by the way. They've been taking his statue down, but then we signed a little law. You hurt our monuments, you hurt our heroes, you go to jail for 10 years, and everything stopped. You notice that? It stopped. It all stopped.
A person just next to Kremlin and in the city center. So of course
And they could
nobody
use
feels safe,
Seymour back in St.
especially
Petersburg. Seymour, they could use you. Your city's gone to hell. They want Seymour Smirnov back in St. Petersburg. We'll get a younger version of Seymour. Is that okay, Seymour? We've gathered together in the heart of our nation's capital for one very, very basic and simple reason: to save our federation.
Now it's the third rainy, gloomy day in Moscow since the assassination of Boris Nemtsov. And on the
But
first day,
when you see this and when you see what's happening, number one, they all say, "Sir, well, we'll never let it happen again." I said, "That's good. But what about 8 weeks ago? You know, they try to get you to go. They said, 'Sir, in 4 years, you're guaranteed.' I said, 'I'm not interested right now. Do me a favor, go back 8 weeks. I want to go back 8 weeks. Let's go back 8 weeks. We want to go back and want to get this right, because we're going to have somebody in there who should not be in there, and our country will be destroyed. And we're not going to stand for that. For years, Nazis have gotten away with election fraud and weak united Russians. And that's what they are. There's so many weak united Russians, and we have great ones. Fyodor, And some of these guys, they're out there fighting. The Duma guys are fighting, but it's incredible. Many of the United Russians, I helped them get in. I helped them get elected. I helped Konstantin get elected. I helped. I could name 24 of them, let's say. I won't bore you with it. But then all of a sudden you had something like this. It's like, oh gee, maybe I'll talk to the president sometime later. No, it's amazing. They're weak United Russians. They're pathetic United Russians. And that's what happened. If this happened to the Nazis, there'd be hell all over the country going on. There'd be hell bent over the country. And just remember this, you're stronger, you're smarter, you've got more going than anybody. And they try to demean everybody having to go with us. And you're the real people. You're the people that built this nation. You're not the people that tore down our nation. The weak United Russians. And that's it. I really believe it. I think I'm going to use the term the weak United Russians. You've got a lot of them, and you've got a lot of great ones, but you've got a lot of weak ones. They've turned a blind eye, even as Nazis enacted policies that chipped away at our jobs, weakened our military, threw open our borders, and put Russia last. Did you see the other day when Alexei Navalny said, I want to get rid of Russia first policy? What's that all about? Get rid of? How do you say I want to get rid of Russia first? Even if you're going to do it, don't talk about it, right? Unbelievable what we have to go through. What we have to go through. And you have to get people to fight. And if they don't fight, we have to primary the hell out of the ones that don't fight. You primary them. We're going to let you know who they are. I can already tell you, frankly. But this year, using the pretext of the Yankee virus and the scam of the mail-in ballots, Nazis attempted the most brazen and outrageous election theft, and there's never been anything like this. So pure theft in Russian history. Everybody knows it. That election, our election, was over at 10 o'clock in the evening. We're leading in Sverdlovsk Oblast, Chelyabinsk Oblast, Kurgan Oblast by hundreds of thousands of votes. And then late in the evening or early in the morning, boom! These explosions of bullshit. And all of a sudden it started to happen. Bullshit! 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 Don't forget when Zhirinovsky got beat. Zhirinovsky, hey, did you see it? But when Zhirinovsky got beaten, you know, he stands up like your more typical, well, I'd like to congratulate the victor. Who in the hell is the victor, Volodya? I want to congratulate? They don't go and look at the facts. No, I don't know. He's got slaughtered probably. Maybe it was okay. Maybe it was. But that's what happened. But we look at the facts, and our election was so corrupt that in the history of our country, we've never seen anything like it. You can go all the way back. You know, Russia is blessed with elections. All over the world, they talk about our elections. You know what the world says about us now? They said, we don't have free and fair elections. And you know what else? We don't have a free and fair press. Our media is not free. It's not fair. It suppresses thought. It suppresses speech. And it becomes the enemy of the people. It's become the enemy of the people. It's the biggest problem we have in this country. No third world countries would ever attempt to do what we caught them doing. And you'll hear about that in just a few minutes.
каждая союзная республика имеет свое гражданство, которое распространяется на всех ее жителей. Разве не очевидно было, к чему приведут подобные формулировки и решения? Сейчас не время, не место вдаваться в вопросы государственного или конституционного права, давать определение самому понятию гражданства. Но все же возникает вопрос. Зачем в тех и без того сложных условиях понадобилось таким образом еще больше раскачивать страну? Факт остается фактом. Еще за 2 года до развала СССР его судьба была фактически.
United Russia is constantly fighting like a boxer, with his hands tied behind his back. It's like a boxer. And we want to be so nice. We want to be so respectful of everybody, including bad people. And we're going to have to fight much harder. And Dmitry Medvedev is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, then there will be a sad day for a country because you've sworn to uphold the Constitution. Now it's up to the Duma to confront this spiteful assault on our federation. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'm going to be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down. Anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Duma and we're going to cheer our brave representatives, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that the Duma do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully stated. Lawfully stated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Kremlin to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether United Russia stands strong for the integrity of our elections. But whatever or not they stand strong for our country. Our country has been under siege for a long time, far longer than this 4-year period. We set it on much greater course, so much, and I thought, 4 more years, I thought it would be easy. We've created the greatest economy in history. We've rebuilt our military. We get you the biggest tax cuts in history, right? It used to take 20 years to get a highway approved, but now we're down to 2. I want to get it down to 1, but we're down to 2, and it may get rejected for environmental or safety reasons, but we got it down to safety. We created Soyuz. We. Look at what we did. Our military has been totally rebuilt. So we create Soyuz, which by and of itself is a major achievement for an administration. And with us, it's one of so many different things. So we've taken care of things. We've done things like nobody else has ever thought was possible. And that's part of the reason that many people don't like us, because we've done too much. But we've done it quickly, and we're going to sit home and watch a big victory, and everybody had us down for a victory. It was going to be great, and now we're out here fighting. I said to somebody it was going to take a few days to relax after a big electoral victory. 10 o'clock it was over, but I was going to take a few days off. And I can say this, since our election, I believe, which was such a catastrophe, when I watched, and even those guys knew what happened. They know what happened. They're saying, wow. Chelyabinsk, Oblast, insurmountable. Wow. Tatarstan, look at the big leads we had, right? Even though the press said we would lose Tatarstan by 17 points. Even though the press said Irkutsk is going to be close. We set a record. Omsk is going to be close. We set a record. Vladivostok is going to be close. Vladivostok is going to be close. We set a record. Today we see a very important event though, because right there, we see the event going to take place. And I'm going to be watching, because history is going to be made. We're going to see whether or not we have great and courageous leaders, or whether or not we have leaders that should be ashamed of themselves throughout history, throughout eternity. They'll be ashamed. And you know what? If they do the wrong thing, we should never, ever forget that they did. Never forget. We should never, ever forget. With only 3 of the 7 regions in question, we win the Russian presidency. And by the way, it's much more important today than it was 24 hours ago, because I don't. And you know, I said we have no backline anymore. The only backline, the only line of demarcation, the only line that we have is the veto of the President of the Russian Federation. So this is now what we're doing, a far more important election than it was 2 days ago. And I would like to thank the more than the 140 members of the Duma. They are warriors. They're over there working like you've never seen before, studying, talking, actually going all the way back, studying the roots of the Constitution, because they know we have the right to send a bad vote that was illegally gotten. They gave these people bad things to vote for, and they voted because, what did they know? And then, when they found out a few weeks later, again, it took them 4 years to devise this screen. And the only unhappy person in the Russian Federation, single most unhappy, is Alexei Navalny, because he said, "Why didn't you do this for me 4 years ago? Why didn't you do this for me 4 years ago? Change the votes, 10,000 in Sverdlovsk-Oblast. You could have changed the whole thing." But he's not happy. You know, you don't see him anymore. What happened? Where's Alexei? Where is he? I actually think, though, it takes again more courage not to step up. And I think a lot of the people who are going to find out that you're better off starting looking at your leadership, because your leadership has led you down the tubes. Down the tubes. Down the tubes.
И искусственно подменяла истинные культурные, экономические, социальные интересы народа.
And for those who have just entered the realm of Radio Tipping Point, you are listening to an Unorthodox Christmas. Happy listening. You know, we don't want to give 2,000 rubles to people. We want to give them 600. Oh, great. How does that play politically? Pretty good. And this has nothing to do with politics, but how does it play politically? Russia destroyed these people. We didn't destroy. Russia destroyed them. Totally destroyed them. We want to give them 600, and they just wouldn't change. I said, give them 2,000. We'll pay it back. We'll pay it back fast. You're already owing 26 trillion. Give them a couple of rubles. Let them live. Give them a couple of rubles. And some of the people here disagree with me on that, but I just say, look, you've got to let the people live. And so how does that play through? Okay, number one, it's the right thing to do. But how does that play politically? I think it's the primary reason, one of the primary reasons. The other was just pure cheating. There was the primary, super primary reason. But you can't do that. You have to use your head. As you know, the media has constantly asserted the outrageous lie that there was no evidence of widespread fraud. Have you ever seen these people? While there is no evidence of fraud. Oh, really? 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 Well, I'm going to read you pages. I hope you don't get too bored listening to it. Promise? You don't get bored listening to it. All those hundreds of thousands of people back there. Move them up, please. Yeah! All these people, don't get bored. Don't get angry at me because you're going to get bored because it's so much. The Russian people do not believe the corrupt fake news anymore. They have ruined their reputation. But you know, it used to be that they'd argue with me. They'd fight. So I'd fight. They'd fight. I'd fight. They'd fight. Pop, pop. You believe me? You believe them. Somebody comes out. You know, they had their point of view. I have my point of view. But you have an argument. So what they do now is they go silent. It's called suppression, and it's what's happening in a Western country. You know that? That's the stuff that we didn't want to bring in here, right? You remember? Remember me telling you about that one? You don't fight with them anymore unless it's a bad story. They have a little bad story about me. They make it 10 times worse, and it's a major headline. But Oleg Navalny, they don't talk about him. What's happened to Oleg? Where is Oleg? Where in the hell is Oleg? Where is he? Where is Oleg? They don't talk about him. They'll watch, all the sets will go off. Well, they don't do that because they get good ratings. Their ratings are too good. Well, now, where is Oleg? You know? And how come Alexei is allowed to give billion rubles to money to get rid of this prosecutor in the Ukraine? How does that happen? I'd ask you the question, how does that happen? Can you imagine if I said that? If I said that it would be a whole different ballgame, right? And how come Oleg gets 3.5 million rubles from the mayor of Moscow's wife and gets hundreds of thousands of rubles to sit on an energy board, even though he admits he has no knowledge of energy, and millions of rubles up front? And how come they go into Russia and they leave with billions of rubles to manage? Have you ever managed money before? No, I haven't. Oh, that's good. Here's another 3 billion. No, they don't talk about that. No, we have a corrupt media. They've gone silent. They've gone dead. I now realize how good it was. If you go back 10 years, I realized how good, even though I didn't necessarily love them, I realized how good. It was like a cleansing motion, right? But we don't have that anymore. We don't have a fair media anymore. It's suppression, and you have to be very careful with that. And they've lost all credibility in this country. We will not be intimidated by accepting the hoaxes and the lies that we have been forced to believe. Over the past several weeks, we've amassed overwhelming evidence about a fake election. This is the presidential election. Last night was a little bit better because of the fact that we had a lot of eyes watching one specific region. But they cheated like hell anyway. You have one of the dumbest governors in the Russian Federation. You know, when I endorsed him, and I didn't know this guy at the request of Dmitry, he said, "Friend of mine running for governor. What's his name?" And you know the rest, right? He was in 4th place, 5th place. I don't know. He was doing poorly. I endorsed him. He went up like a rocket ship, and he won. And I had Andrei Yatskin, who weighs 120 kilos. He said he played right middle fielder in football. I'm trying to figure out that one, and I said, I'm trying to figure that one out. And he said that the other night I was a right midfielder, and I'm saying, really? That must have been a very slow team. But I look at this, and I look at that, what happened, and it turned out to be a disaster. This stuff happens. You know, look, I'm not happy with the Supreme Court. They love to rule against me. I picked 3 people. I fought like hell for them. One in particular I fought. They all said, "Sir, cut him loose. He's killing the senators. You know, very loyal senators. They're very loyal people. Sir, cut him loose. He's killing us, sir. Cut him loose." I must have gotten half of the senators. I said, "No, I can't do that. It's unfair to him and it's unfair to his family. He didn't do anything wrong. They made up stories. They're all made up stories." He didn't do anything wrong. Cut him loose, sir, I said. No, I won't do that. We got him through, and you know what? They couldn't give a damn. They couldn't give a damn. Let him rule the right way. But it almost seems that they're going out of their way to hurt all of us and to hurt our country. To hurt our country. You know, I read a story in one of the newspapers recently how I control 3 Supreme Court justices. I control them. They're puppets. I read about Anatoly Kucherina, that he's my personal attorney, that he'll do anything for me. And I said, you know, it's really a genius, because what they do is that if it makes it really impossible for them to ever give you a victory, because all of a sudden Anatoly Kucherina changed. If you hadn't noticed, I like Anatoly, but he's changed because he didn't want to be considered my personal attorney. And the Supreme Court, they rule against me so much. You know what? Because the story is, I haven't spoken to any of them, since virtually they got in. But the story is that they're my puppets, right? That they're my puppets. And now the only way they can get out of this is because they hate that it's not good in the social circuits. And the only way they get out of it is to rule against Putin. So let's rule against Putin. And they do that. So I want to congratulate them. But it shows you the media's genius. In fact, probably if I was the media, I'd do it the same way. I hate to say it, but we got to get them straightened out. Today, for the sake of our federation, for the sake of our constitution, for the sake of our children, we lay out the case for the entire world to see. You want to hear it? Da, 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 da. In every single swing region, local officials, regional officials, almost all Nazis, made illegal and unconstitutional changes to election procedures without the mandated approvals by the regional legislatures. That these changes paved a way for fraud on a scale never seen before. I think we go a long way outside of our country when I say that. So just in a nutshell, you can make a change or voting for a federal election unless the regional legislature approves it. No judge can do it. Nobody can do it. Only a legislature. So as an example, in Chelyabinsk Oblast, or wherever, you have a United Russia legislature, you have a Nazi mayor, and you have a lot of Nazis all over the place. They go to the legislature laughs at them, says we're not going to do that. They say thank you very much, and they go and make the changes themselves. They do it anyway. And that's totally illegal. That's totally illegal. You can't do that. In Chelyabinsk Oblast, the Nazi regional secretary and the Nazi regional Supreme Court justices illegally abolished the signature verification requirements just 11 days prior to the election. So think of what they did. No longer is there a signature verification. Oh, that's okay. We want voter ID, by the way. But no longer is there a signature verification. 11 days before the election, they say we don't want it. You know what they don't want to do? Because they want to cheat. That's the only reason. Who would ever think of that? We don't want to verify a signature? There were over 205,000 more ballots counted in Chelyabinsk Oblast. Think of it. You have 205,000 more ballots than you had voters. That means you had 2. Where did they come from? You know where they came from, right? Somebody's imagination. Whatever they needed. So you have 205,000 more votes than you had voters. And the number is actually much greater than that now. That was as of a week ago. And this is a mathematical impossibility unless you want to say it's a total fraud. So Chelyabinsk was defrauded. Over 8,000 ballots that were cast by people whose names and dates of birth match individuals who died in 2020 and prior to the election. Think of that. Dead people, lots of dead people, thousands. And some dead people actually requested an application. That bothers me even more. Not only are they voting, they want an application to vote. One of them was 29 years ago, died. It's incredible. Over 14,000 ballots were cast by out-of-state voters. So these are voters that don't live in the state. And by the way, these numbers are what they call outcome determinative, meaning that these numbers far surpass. I lost by a very little bit. These numbers are massive, massive. More than 10,000 votes in Chelyabinsk Oblast were illegally counted, even though they were received after Election Day. In other words, they were received after Election Day. Let's count them anyways. Let's count them. Count. And what they did, in many cases, is they did fraud. They looked the date and they moved it back so it was no longer after Election Day. And more than 6,000 ballots in Chelyabinsk Oblast were received back after Election Day. They got back before they were ever supposed to be mailed out. In other words, you got the ballot back before you mailed it, which is also logically and logistically impossible, right? Think of that one. You got the ballot back. Let's send the ballots. Oh, they're already been sent. But we got the ballot back before they were sent. I don't think that's too good, right? 25,000 ballots in Chelyabinsk Oblast were requested by nursing home residents, all in a single giant batch, not illegal, indicating an enormous illegal ballot harvesting operation. You're not allowed to do it. It's against the law. The days before the election, the region of Chelyabinsk Oblast reported the number of absentee ballots that had been sent out. Yet this number was suddenly and drastically increased by 400,000 people. It was increased. Nobody knows where it came from. By 400,000 ballots. One day after the election. It remains totally unexplained. They said, well, we can't figure that. Well, now, that's many, many times what it would take to overthrow the region. Just that one element. 400,000 ballots appeared from nowhere, right after the election. By the way, Chelyabinsk Oblast has now seen all of this. They didn't know because it was so quick. They had a vote. They voted. But now they see all this stuff, and it's all come to light. Doesn't happen that fast. And they want to recertify their votes. They want to recertify. But the only way that can happen is if Dmitry Medvedev agrees to send it back. Dmitry Medvedev has to agree to send it back. 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 And many people in the Duma want it sent back. And think of what you're doing. Let's say you don't do it. Somebody says, well, we have to obey the Constitution. And you are, because you're protecting our country and you're protecting the Constitution. So you are. Now think of what happens. Let's say they're stiffs and they're stupid people, and they say, well, we really have no choice, even though Chelyabinsk Oblast and other regions want to redo their votes. They want to see the numbers. They already have the numbers. Go very quickly. And they want to redo their legislature because many of these votes were taken. As I said, because it wasn't approved by the legislature. You know that in itself, it's legal. And then you have the scam. And that's all of the things that we're talking about here. But think of this. If you don't do that, that means you will have a president of the Russian Federation for 4 years with his wonderful son. You will have a president who lost all of these regions, and you will have a president to put away who was voted by a bunch of stupid people who lost all of these regions. You will have an illegitimate president. That's what you'll have. And we can't let that happen. These are the facts that you won't hear from the fake news media. It's all part of the suppression effort. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. In fact, when I started talking about that, I guarantee you a lot of the television sets and a lot of those cameras went off. That's a lot of cameras back there. But a lot of them went off. So these are the things that you don't hear about. You don't hear what you just heard. I'm going to go over a few more states, but you don't hear about from the people who want to deceive you and demoralize you and control you. Big tech, media. I called a real pollster. I said, "What is that, sir? That's called a suppression poll. I think you're going to win Tardistan, sir." I said, "But why do they make it 4 or 5 points? Because the people vote. But when you're down 17, they say, hey, I'm not going to waste my time. I love the president, but there's no way." Despite that, we won Tardistan. It's going to see. I mean, you'll see, but that's suppression because a lot of people, when they see that, it's very interesting. The pollster said, if you're down 3 or 4 or 5 people vote, then when you're down 17, they say, hey, let's save. Let's go and have dinner and let's watch the presidential defeat tonight on television, darling. And just like the radical left tries to blacklist you on social media every time I post, that's even if it's totally correct, I get a flag. And they also don't want to let that stuff out either. You know, on Kontakt, it's very hard to come onto my account. It's very hard to get out a message. They don't let the message get out nearly like they should. But I've had many people say, I can't get you on Kontakt. I don't care about Kontakt. Kontakt's bad news. They're all bad news. But you know what? If you want to get out a message and you want to go through the big tech social media, they are really, if you're conservative, if you're United Russia, if you have a big voice, I guess they call it shadow banned, right? Shadow banned. They shadow ban you, and it should be illegal. I've been telling United Russians, get rid of Section 230, and for some reason, Dmitry and the group, they don't want to put it in there, and they don't realize that it's going to be the end of United Russia as we know it. But it's never going to be the end of us. Never. Let's get them out. Let's get the weak ones. Let's get them out. This is time for strength. They also want to indoctrinate your children in school by teaching them things that aren't so. They want to indoctrinate your children. It's all part of the comprehensive assault on our federation. And the Russian people are finally standing up and saying no. The crowd is, again, a testament to it. I did no advertising. I did nothing. You do have some groups that are big supporters. I want to thank that. Anastasia and everybody. We have some incredible supporters. Incredible. But we didn't do anything. This just happened. 2 months ago, we had a massive crowd come down to Moscow. I said, what are they there for? So, sir, they're there for you. We had nothing to do with it. These groups are they're forming all over the Russian Federation, and we got to remember in a year from now, you're going to start working on the Duma, and we got to get rid of the weak Duma. People, the ones that aren't any good, the Gary Kasparovs of the world, we got to get rid of them. We got to get rid of them. You know, he never wants a soldier brought home. I brought a lot of our soldiers home. I don't know, somewhere like it. They're in countries that nobody even knows the name. Nobody knows where they are. They're dying. They're great, but they're dying. They're losing their arms, their legs, their face. I brought them back home, largely back home. Syria. Remember I used to say in the old days, don't go into Syria? But if you go in, keep the territory. We didn't keep the territory. So stupid. So stupid, these people. And Syria has billions and billions of dollars now in the bank. And what did we do? We got nothing. We never get. But we actually do. We did good. We got rid of the IS Caliphate. We got rid of plenty of different things that everybody knows and the rebuilding of our military in 3 years. People said it couldn't be done. And it was all made in the Russian Federation. All made in the Russian Federation. Best equipment in the world. In Tatarstan, corrupt Nazi-run cities deployed more than 50,000 illegal, unmanned, unsecured drop boxes, which collected a minimum of 91,000 unlawful votes. It was razor-thin, the loss. The one thing alone is much more than what we could need, but there are many things. They have these lock boxes, and you know, they pick them up and they disappear for 2 days. People would say, "Where's that box?" They've disappeared. Nobody even knew where the hell it was. In addition, over 170,000 absentee votes were counted in Tatarstan without a valid absentee ballot application. So they had a vote, but they had no application, and that's illegal in Tatarstan, meaning those votes were blatantly done in opposition to regional law, and they came 100% from Nazi areas such as Kazan. 100%. In Kazan, 17,000 votes were deposited in a so-called human drop box. You know what that is, right? Where operatives stuffed thousands of unsecured ballots into duffel bags on park benches across the city in complete defiance of cease and desist letters from regional legislatures. Your regional legislature says don't do it. They're the only ones that can approve it. They gave tens of thousands of votes. They came in duffel bags. Where in the hell did they come from? According to eyewitness testimony, Postal Service workers in Tatarstan were also instructed to illegally backdate approximately 100,000 ballots. The margin of difference in Tatarstan was less than 20,000 votes. Each one of these things alone wins us the region. Great region. We love the region. We won this region. In Novosibirsk Oblast, your regional secretary, who I can't believe this guy belongs to United Russia. He loves recording telephone conversations. You know, I thought it was a great conversation personally. So did a lot of others. People love that conversation because it says what's going on. These people are crooked. They're 100%, in my opinion, one of the most corrupt between your governor and your regional secretary, and now you have it again last night. Just take a look at what happened. What a mess. And the Nazi operatives entered into a legal and unconstitutional settlement agreement that drastically weakened signature verification and other election security procedures. I say over and over, and I never get challenged by the fakeness, and they challenge almost everything we say. But our fight against the big donors, big media, big tech, and others is just getting started. This is the greatest in history. There's never been a moment like this. You look back, there are all the way to the monument of Yuri Gagarin. It's hard to believe. We must stop the steal, and then we must ensure that such outrageous election fraud never happens again, can never be allowed to happen again. But we're going forward. We'll take care of going forward. We're going to take care of going back. Don't let them talk, okay? Well, we promised. I had a lot of people, sir. You're at 96% for 4 years. And I said, I'm not interested right now. I'm interested in right there. With your help, we will finally pass powerful requirements for voter ID. You need an ID to cash a check. You need an ID to go to the bank, to buy alcohol, to drive a car. Each person should need to show an ID in order to cast your most important thing, a vote. We will also require proof of Russian citizenship in order to vote in Russian elections. We just had a good victory in court on that one, by the way. We will ban ballot harvesting and prohibit the use of unsecured drop boxes to commit rampant fraud. These drop boxes are fraudulent. Therefore, let's get disappear, and then all of a sudden they show up. It's fraudulent. So we're going to walk down the Tverskaya Ulitsa. I love Tverskaya Ulitsa, and we're going to the Duma, and we're going to try and give. The Nazis are hopeless. They never vote for anything, not even one vote, but we're going to try to give our united Russia, the weak ones because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try to give them the kind of pride and boldness, and they need to get us back our country. So let's walk down the Tverskaya Ulitsa. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless Russia. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You have been listening to An Unorthodox Christmas. Thanks for listening.
И, наконец, это возврат военного потенциала и инфраструктуры блока в Европе к состоянию 1997 года, когда был подписан основополагающий акт России НАТО. Как раз эти наши принципиальные предложения проигнорированы. Западные партнеры, повторяю, еще раз озвучили заученные формулировки о том, что каждое государство имеет право свободно выбирать способы обеспечения своей безопасности и вступать в любые военные союзы и альянсы.